Cool. Sorry, I'm gathering my news here. It's been like 45 seconds of me just like sitting on my splash screen, not really saying anything or doing anything. For that, I apologize if you're watching the VOD. I will get to the news soon. I usually like to wait a few minutes for people to come in and um, people to be kind of engaged in chat, just so I don't have to repeat myself. But this entire thing is one huge experiment. So eventually, at some point, I'm probably going to start just reading the news as soon as the stream starts. I just need to get better at editing my YouTube and such anyway. So I'm going to get into it in a minute here. Just waiting for stream elements to do their little announcement type deal. Assuming they even still do that. Let me just check Facebook and Twitter and such really quick. There's someone. Hello. Okay, so we got one person. How goes? How are you doing? Yo, what up, Teabag? I'm doing all right. About to get into this news here. Wow. Wow. How transparent. Where did this shit come from? I didn't want to. I hate Fox News. Okay, there we go. There we go. And there's the stream elements announcement. Cool. Reopen, closed tab.
Listen.
Okay, that's stupid. I'm not gonna read that. But all right, welcome everyone. It's time for me to read the news. You know how it goes. I'm gonna start off with the usual suspects, the usual thing that I do on here. Just talk about how much the police suck. And here we have yet another example as to why you should not trust the police. The police are not here to protect you. The police are here to put you in jail. Apparently in Portland, some cops straight photoshopped someone's mugshot so that he would look more like the suspect that they were looking for. Which is, I should not be surprised by this in the slightest, but somehow I still am. I'm going to move this over there. So I'm going to read this. The attorney argued for a sentence of time served for the convicted serial bank robber with a lengthy criminal record. She urged the judge to consider the defendant's progress while on release over the last 3 years and not simply his extensive rap sheet. She noted the man has the potential to steer others in Portland away from a life of gangs, drugs, and crime. And I just realized that I did not change what I was doing on my Twitch and Facebook. So I'm going to do that, update that really quick. It still said I was playing Hunt Showdown, so anyone who came in here expecting me to be playing Hunt Showdown is going to be disappointed. I just changed it though, so anyway. She also stressed it would be too risky for the government to present the charges to a jury because the prosecution relied solely on eyewitness testimony. This was the case that gained national notoriety after police manipulated the defendant's mugshot to remove his tattoos to more closely resemble the hold-up suspect. And the lawyer arguing all this before a federal judge, to the surprise of most everyone in the courtroom, an assistant U.S. attorney overseeing the prosecution of Tyrone Lamont Allen. Allen's supporters looked on in stunned silence from the public gallery before the judge allowed the 52-year-old man to walk with no prison time. It's like hitting the lottery. You never see this happen with a black man in his kind of lengthy criminal history, said Michael Fesser, who grew up with Allen and has had his own well-known history with Oregon's justice system. For the past year, Allen has worked with Fesser's program called Going Home to help men after they get out of prison. There's no words for it, said Herman Green, a local pastor and newly elected Portland School Board member. Maybe, just maybe, the system is about to change, which I highly doubt, but... Allen pleaded guilty to 4 bank and credit union heists that occurred in less than a week, 1 each on April 3rd, 4th, and 2 on April 7th, 2017. He wore hooded sweatshirts, glasses, and ball caps to obscure his appearance and covered up his distinctive facial tattoos, according to prosecutors. He approached tellers, demanded money, and threatened that he had a gun, they said. Bank robbery counts each carry a sentence of up to 20 years in prison, a fine of up to $250,000, and 3 years of supervised release. Time served is a stunning outcome for a conviction on such a string of bank robberies, but Allen's case is unlike any other. More than a year after Allen's arrest in May 2017, his defense lawyer, Mark Allemeyer, discovered that Portland police had used an unusual investigative technique against Allen. Allemeyer then moved to suppress the evidence. On the witness stand, a police forensic criminalist admitted he had painted over the tattoos on Allen's face using Photoshop before including the mugshot in a photo lineup that detectives showed to witnesses in each of the bank robberies. None of the tellers have reported seeing tattoos on the face of the man who robbed them. Several of the tellers picked out Allen's photo. Police said they changed Allen's photo so his tattoos wouldn't stand out and called his facial tattoos too distracting for witnesses. Allemeyer, an assistant federal public defender, argued that the altered mugshot allowed police to rig the outcome of the photo lineup. Police also hadn't disclosed what they had done, contrary to federal guidelines. So, from what I'm understanding from what I'm reading, this dude actually did this shit. He actually did it. He's just getting out on a technicality. It's not the system changing or anything like that. He did it. It's just that they tampered with the evidence and didn't disclose that they had tampered with the evidence, which we all know the police do. But the fact that he was able to actually get out behind that is pretty non-standard. U.S. District Judge Marco A. Hernandez decided not to suppress the evidence and said he would allow a jury to determine the reliability of the identifications of Allen from the photo if Allen went on trial. He ruled in the September 2019 opinion that the changes on the photo of Allen weren't unnecessarily suggestive, but he said he shared Allen and Allemeyer's concerns about the police conduct. It remains unclear to this court where the line between constitutional and unconstitutional police conduct lies with regard to editing the photograph of a defendant in a lineup, Hernandez wrote. And to quote George W., the Constitution is just a goddamn piece of paper. Allen entered guilty pleas in April in a negotiated deal with prosecutors that called for time served. In his case, about 5 months and 21 days in jail and 3 years of supervised release. The judge warned lawyers on both sides that they would have to convince him when they returned to his courtroom for Allen's sentencing why he should consider their extremely rare agreement. The sentencing hearing came last Friday. Assistant U.S. Attorney Natalie K. White addressed the judge first. She told Hernandez that she recognized that he might view the proposal to spare Allen as a windfall, particularly because Allen has served the bulk of his adult life under indictment, in prison, or on post-conviction supervision. But since Allen was granted release in July 2018, pending his trial, he has made significant strides, she said. This case was a reminder to everyone the importance of a case-by-case, defendant-by-defendant approach to justice, White said. Allen has received mental health treatment and is working to help others, she said. She asked the judge to take what she called an exceptional step and grant the proposed sentence. This case has the possibility of becoming extraordinary. He can lead the community and show our community that you can live a lifetime of crime and you can make that choice and change and show that the criminal justice system actually recognizes you for your value, White said, which is, this is painful. And that someone who has a prior criminal history, such as Mr. Allen's, can actually become an asset, she said. Allemeyer called the resolution a fair way to conclude the case, considering serious questions about the police techniques and the potential that an appellate court could throw out the entire prosecution if it found the altered mugshots used for eyewitness identification were unnecessarily suggestive in violation of his constitutional rights. The defense attorney described how Allen has worked the last year to mentor youth to try to keep them from going down Allen's same path of gangs, drugs, and crime. He participated in a community youth event at Northeast Portland's Unthank Park called More Than My Hood. He passes out his number to young men hanging out on the street and tells them he can help them. There's a tremendous need for that right now, Allemeyer said, while others are doing outreach. The message that comes from Mr. Allen is a different and more effective message. Allen had an unstable childhood with a father who was absent and a mother who was murdered when he was 10. He has a record that dates back to 1988, with convictions for drug delivery, robbery, theft, attempted assault, bank robbery, and being a felon in possession of a gun. He is now married with a child on the way. Allen stood and addressed the judge, his voice shaking with emotion. I'm here to accept responsibility for my actions, he said. I come from a really hard background and am trying to change. He alluded to those seated behind him in the courtroom, people who have been in his life for decades. Thank you for the host. People who never gave up on me when I gave up on myself, he said. They pushed me to be a better person, he added, and today I know I'm a better person. He apologized to those he hurt. He pleaded for the opportunity to stay out here and be a productive person. You're a lucky person, Mr. Allen. The judge told Allen that he at first couldn't understand why anyone would recommend a sentence like this for someone so fully indoctrinated into a life of crime. I believe in giving opportunities, but when I thought about whether or not you deserve one, my answer was unequivocally no, Hernandez said. But he began to see Allen's commitment and effort to not only stay out of trouble, but serve as an example for others and actively help them. We're talking about the police, of course. I believe in redemption, Hernandez said. I believe in giving you an opportunity to show your changes are deep and lasting. And this is another one of those, just because so I can break off really quick, because I'm probably not going to read the rest of this because it looks really long. This is another one of those things where it's like, you know, you get like that BuzzFeed article about how all the teachers gave up their PTO so that the one teacher with cancer wouldn't like lose their house while they got treatment for cancer. It's like, dog, like they wouldn't have had to do that if the system wasn't broken in the first place. You get what I mean? Like this wouldn't be a feel-good story about this guy being in a life of crime and the police fucking him over and him getting this opportunity to change if the system was not set up for people like him to be into lives of crime in the first place, right? If poverty was addressed, a lot of the issues that precipitated him becoming the way that he is would not have been a factor in his life. It said his father was absent, perhaps because of something drugs or criminal related. His father would still be around, right? His mother would not have gotten murdered. Like just all these things that poverty was the prime motivator in, that if we fix the poverty issue, you wouldn't need to have such a serious like criminal justice system. Even if we were going to be generous and be charitable and assume that the criminal justice system was solely for reform and not just legalized slavery, specifically to pick up people like this in this position. So that's that. The police are fucking trash. Never forget it. We got some goofy shit. Some goofball right-wing politicians. We'll set it up with DeSantis first, who is asking protesters to stay out of Florida roads in a reversal on his anti-riot law. Surprise, surprise. He only wants to apply this law when we're talking about people fighting for civil rights in the streets. Then you can run them over with your car. But when we're right wingers demonstrating for uh, military intervention in Cuba, then it's protesting. You know what I mean? Governor Ron DeSantis on Thursday called on demonstrators showing support for Cuban protesters to stop blocking traffic in Florida, a pivot from his previous stance and a nod to the criticism that has been heaped on the state's new anti riot law in recent days. DeSantis pushed the anti riot bill in the aftermath of last year's racial justice protests that spread across the nation, and even cited protesters blocking roads as a justification for the measure that includes extra penalties for people accused of participating in riots and violent protests. But Democrats and other critics of the law, which is being challenged in federal court, accused DeSantis and other Republicans of supporting selective enforcement of the measure. They said the measure was designed to target black protesters upset with police shootings. But now DeSantis and other GOP leaders are in a difficult position since they support the aims of many of the demonstrators back in Cuba and Miami and elsewhere. Surprise, surprise. This week, demonstrators blocked major roadways for hours in Miami-Dade County without any reports of arrests or citations. Imagine that. But the Tampa Bay Times reported on Wednesday that 2 demonstrators in Tampa were held in jail overnight without bail because of a provision in the new law. On Tuesday, DeSantis sidestepped a question about whether authorities should arrest people blocking roads as part of protests in solidarity with Cuba, because of course he did. These demonstrations popped up in several cities as Cuban Americans voiced their support to Cuban protesters who are demanding an end to the authoritarian regime that has controlled the island nation for the past 6 decades, which is also false. I talked about that Wednesday, but far be it from me to sit here and shill for the Cuban government, because the government does have repressive elements in their police force and so on and so forth. There are obviously people there who are dissatisfied with the way that the government has handled allocation of resources, especially in the wake of COVID, the global epidemic. But to sit here and cap and lie and say that all these protesters are literally protesting because they just want to get rid of socialism in their country is utterly asinine. It's just straight up manufacturing consent. There are literally protesters flying Fidel Castro portrait flags. There's people there. A lot of people on the ground are pro-government. They just want their government to do better. You understand what I'm saying? It is absurd, Roxy the Riveter. It is absurd. But anyway, to continue. On Thursday, the governor reversed course and said that the authorities could not tolerate people blocking roads. It's dangerous for you to be shutting down a thoroughfare, DeSantis said during a press conference with Florida GOP reps. It wouldn't be so dangerous if you hadn't made it legal for people to run you over. But, Maria Salazar and Carlos Jimenez calling on the Biden administration to help restore internet access to Cuba. You're also putting other people in jeopardy. You don't know if an emergency vehicle needs to get somewhere, and then obviously it's just disrespectful to make people stand in traffic. Stupid. DeSantis repeated his assertion that his anti-riot bill was meant to crack down on violent protesters. But before he made his latest comment, Democrats, who have been harsh critics of the anti-riot bill, accused DeSantis of being hypocritical. Governor DeSantis and his allies are very clearly applying a politically driven double standard when it comes to the right to peacefully protest and exercise free speech, said State Senator Chevron Jones, a black Democrat from Miami Gardens. Supporting humanity should never be an either-or situation that's driven by what's good politics. Several Senate Democrats, including Senate Democratic leader Lauren Book, wrote a letter to Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody on Wednesday that asked her to render a legal opinion on what types of protests remain legal with the new law HB1 in place. People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. Absolutely. Yeah, that's facts. What's up, Drew? Thanks for coming through. We are pleased and frankly thankful that the draconian and anti-democratic measures contained in HB 1 have not been weaponized against those who are peacefully protesting, states the letter signed by Book and 4 other Democrats. I think we can all agree these actions are just and right, that history will say the same, but of course the protection of those who today exercise their passion and purpose must be assured. In the spirit of fighting for justice and liberty for all Floridians, we look forward to your swift response. Lauren Cassidy, a spokesperson for Moody, said the office could not comment because it is currently involved in defending the law in court. Y'all can't just pick and choose what is protesting, what isn't. But I mean, that's the thing, is that they already did that. You know what I mean? Look no further than January 6th and the spin that the right-wing media put on the insurrection, because that's what it was. Let's not mince words here. It was an insurrection that happened on January 6th. But the right-wing media is very, very charitable to a literal attempt to overthrow the American government when it's people on their side, right? But when people are literally just fucking forming a human chain in the middle of the street because they're mad that police literally cannot stop fucking shooting and killing unarmed black men, then, you know, it's a serious problem. People are violent, and we gotta let people run them over with their rolling coal F-350s and let the police go out there and tear gas and tase people and disappear them and kidnap them. But it is what it is. Blocking roads were illegal before the new measure, but HB 1 removed a portion of the old law that has been declared unconstitutional by the courts. It also created a new charge of aggravated rioting that can be charged against someone if they use force to endanger the movement of a car traveling on a highway, which makes absolutely no fucking sense, but whatever. Representative Juan Fernandez Barquin, one of the sponsors of the new law, challenged criticisms that it was being unevenly applied. He had seen footage of the demonstrators in Tampa and said they deserved to be arrested since it appeared as they were resisting police with violence. He said he had spoken to highway troopers who dealt with a large group blocking the Palmetto Expressway in Miami, that the crowd began to disperse once police told them that they were engaged in an unlawful assembly. There is more an ethical cant because they did it already. Yeah, of course. But I believe in our law enforcement professionals and I believe in their judgment, said Fernandez Barquin, whose parents emigrated from Cuba to the United States. Well, my God, it's always. Oh, I'm not gonna say what I really want to say, but suffice it to say, what they're basically saying is this law it's illegal, but we're going to trust the police to do what they do on the ground. We know they're racist, and we know that they share our same beliefs, so we'll just let them do what they do. It's out of our hands. He added that while he sides with those demonstrating in support of Cuban protesters, the minute a protest for the liberation of Cuba here in Miami turns violent, that's where I stop supporting it. There's no need for a protest to get violent. You lose the moral high ground. And leave it for a Republican to be a subscriber to respectability politics. But State Senator Jeff Brandes, a St. Petersburg Republican and the only GOP legislator in that chamber to vote against the law, had warned his fellow Republicans about the problems that would come in trying to enforce the measure. People gather for all sorts of reasons. They happen spontaneously, Brandes said on Thursday. The law doesn't contemplate the difference. And yeah, but we all know Republicans are full of shit. Speaking of Republicans being full of shit, let's talk about our friend, the alleged pedophile, Matt Pizzagates. Says Matt Gaetz is blowing piles of cash on scandal and on Roger Stone. With the possibility of sex trafficking charges still hanging over him, Representative Matt Gaetz' latest campaign finance report shows a spate of new legal spending, a massive public relations blitz, and continued payments to one conspicuous MAGA icon, Roger Stone. Nearly half the embattled congressman's $1.95 million in expenses, a little over $825,000, went to public affairs from Logan Circle Group, which has handled Gates' media strategy since the New York Times first reported in March that he was the focus of an investigation over federal sex crimes. Some of the payments were for the strategic campaign consulting, while others for advertising. But perhaps the most notable strategist Gates paid is one who had contact with Gates' wingman Joel Greenberg, as the former Seminole County tax collector sought a presidential pardon. Roger Stone, the longtime Trump operator who received a pardon himself for charges that he lied to Congress, obstructed justice, and attempted witness tampering, received $15,000 in 3 installments for strategic campaign consulting. 2 of the payments, which went to Stone's business Drake Ventures, came after the Justice Department sued Stone and his company for $2 million in unpaid taxes. Yikes. A few days before the New York Times broke news of the investigation into Gates, the Florida congressman paid Stone $5,000 for strategic consulting. And according to the new filing, Gates paid Stone another $5,000 3 days after the news broke. The report discloses a second fee in late April after a series of reports about Gates' connections to people involved in the alleged sex ring, including Venmo payments to his former wingman turned convicted sex trafficker. The third payment to Stone on May 26 came on the heels of Greenberg's cooperation deal. The Daily Beast reported in April that Greenberg had enlisted Stone sometime last fall to help secure a pardon from then-President Donald Trump. According to a series of text messages between the two men, Greenberg repeatedly told Stone that Gates was directly implicated in the same sex crimes he had been charged with earlier that year. A Gates spokesperson from Logan Circle claimed that the firm's payday was the result of the barrage of media reports on the congressman's alleged role in the sex ring. 4 months into a fake scandal cooked up by a corporate media who should be and will be apologizing for their conduct towards Representative Gates, they are now reporting on financial expenses incurred as a result of their own smear campaigns, the spokesperson said. If we were them, we'd be worried about our own financial liabilities, having repeatedly libeled and lied. Which is funny. Very funny. Not quite ha-ha funny, but like, that's funny. The spokesperson requested that the statement run in full or not at all, or the Daily Beast would get no further participation from us. Jordan Leibowitz, communications director for government watchdog Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, told the Daily Beast the Logan Circle expenses raise more questions about the Gates media strategy. Gates's filings are highly unusual and difficult to understand to begin with. They tend to obscure campaign expenses, Leibowitz said. And while it's understandable that a congressman wrapped up in a major scandal will want to hire a crisis management team, that alone doesn't explain paying a firm with 2 or 3 employees nearly $1 million in 1 month. Gates, who has reportedly been under federal investigation since last summer, also racked up $50,000 in legal bills in his latest filing. The payments were split evenly between 2 separate firms and both came in June, the month after Greenberg signed his cooperation agreement. One of the firms, Mark Fernick Law Offices, has represented a slate of notorious clients, including Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, and the recently convicted head of the NXIVM sex cult, Keith Rainier. That total comes out to more than five times the campaign's combined legal expenses between 2017 and July 2020, the month after Greenberg was first indicted, when Gates' legal fees first began to escalate. The filing also shows Gates trying to raise and raising stunning amounts of money. His campaign shelled out about $220,000 for fundraising consulting since April, and more than $250,000 for direct mail buys and postage. That spending paid off, however, with Gates bringing in $1.44 million this quarter. Wild. Still, Gates spent more than he brought in during a typically sleepy time for campaign expenditures. In total, Gates burned through $1.95 million between April 1st and June 30th. Part of that spending stems from Gates handing over $99,445 to Red Rock Strategies, a firm Gates has frequently tapped in the past, and Gates spent another $120,000 with the consulting firm Trishul LLC. Trishul LLC does not appear in any other finance reports from any political committee, ever. The firm's address on the filing is a one-bedroom D.C. condo belonging to Kash Patel, a former Pentagon official and aide to Gates' ally Representative Devin Nunes. Patel reportedly played a key role in Trump's attempts to undermine the Russia investigation and repeatedly tried to get intelligence agencies to release secrets that Patel believed would show Trump was a victim of the deep state. Patel declined a request for comment. Gates also hired, at least temporarily, the former producer of Steve Bannon's War Room podcast. The filing discloses a single $650 payroll expense to operative Viswanag Burra on May 28th, 1 week after Gates stumped for donations on Bannon's show. Burra lists his occupation on LinkedIn as special ops at Congressman Matt Gaetz. That's funny. Among the other notable expenditures in the filing were 2 meals adding up to $785.70, as well as another for $15 for parking at the Trump International Hotel in D.C. Gates, who embarked on a combo fundraising stand-up tour this spring with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, because, of course, the two jokers in the government would be on a stand-up tour, also reported record-high travel costs. The campaign spent $7,479 on airfares, $1,968 on Uber rides and rental cars, and $2,762 on lodging. On May 18th, Gates transferred $150,000 of his own campaign money to the joint fundraising committee he and Green established for their barnstorm. Gates didn't file as a committee participant until 3 days later. The report also shows that many Gates donors appear to want their money back. That's funny. That's funny. Over the last 3 months, the campaign returned more than $46,500 worth of contributions, according to the filing. By contrast, Gates refunded a total $64,280 over the course of the full 2020 election cycle, according to FEC records. Yikes. So people are mad and they want their money back, and that's funny to me because it didn't happen to me. Oh, man. I'm just going to go through these next few really quick because I'm getting kind of tired, and I might not even do the community call tonight. I might just take a break for tonight. I appreciate everyone coming through, though. So, county officials in Arizona reported a few suspicious ballots undercutting Trump's claims. Surprise, surprise. Trump was full of shit when he said that Arizona and Pennsylvania, or Arizona and Georgia or whatever, had ballot discrepancies, and that's why he lost. The Republicans will always be full of shit at all times for all reasons. Unfortunately, a little bit of bad news. Federal judge rules against DACA program, but current recipients are safe for now. So DACA might potentially be going bye-bye. They're going to appeal a decision the Fifth Circuit Court, but for 2020 and 2021, you're safe, but it's not looking too good for 2022. We'll see what happens. I'll probably follow this story because it's very interesting to me. My last piece here is that the U.S. is seeing a pandemic for unvaccinated people. COVID cases are rising in all 50 U.S. states as the Delta variant spreads coast to coast, news outlets reported on Friday. And with less than half of the U.S. population fully vaccinated, public health chiefs warned of an extraordinary surge. Imagine that. Rochelle Walensky, director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, said at a White House briefing, "This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated." Walensky said the U.S. was seeing an average of 26,000 new coronavirus cases a day, a 7-day average that is 70% higher than last week. Hospitalizations and deaths are also seeing increases, about 36% and 26% respectively, with Walensky noting this was another critical moment in the outbreak. We are seeing outbreaks of cases in parts of the country that have low vaccination coverage because unvaccinated people are at risk. Communities that are fully vaccinated are generally faring well, she said. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious diseases official, said there had been an extraordinary surge in the Delta variant of COVID 19, which is more transmissible around the world, including in the US. Jeff Zients, the coordinator of the White House coronavirus team, confirmed that unvaccinated Americans account for virtually all recent COVID 19 hospitalizations and deaths. So I cannot stress enough that you should get vaccinated if you can, if not for your own sake, for the sake of people who can't get vaccinated. 4 states that are currently seeing high increases in COVID 19 cases have accounted for over 40% of the total COVID cases seen in the country this past week, Zients said. 1 in 5 cases occurred in Florida, in which about 50% of the state is fully vaccinated. Surprise, surprise. All those people who were talking about how Florida lifted their restrictions and now it's cool there, they got clapped. Each COVID-19 death is tragic. Each COVID-19 death is tragic, and those happening now are even more tragic because they are preventable, he said. Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, and Nevada are also seeing surges in infections in many parts. On Friday, CNN reported that all U.S. states were now experiencing an increase in new cases more than 18 months into the pandemic. Data compiled by the New York Times showed that the average rate measured over the past 14 days was rising in all 50 states, varying from a dramatic 373% in Tennessee to 10% in Maine. And the Johns Hopkins University of Medicine Coronavirus Resource Center has presented data showing cases currently rising in all states, with the exception in recent days, despite Zients' comments, of Florida. Zients said that the White House was working on local outreach to communities that are skeptical of the vaccine and was making the vaccine accessible at doctors' offices and workplaces. As the prevalence of infection grows, prompting concern yet again for hospital systems, some authorities have begun to impose renewed restrictions. Los Angeles from Saturday night will return to mandatory mask wearing indoors even for people who have been vaccinated, as the nation's largest county seeks to contain a sustained increase in cases among its 10 million population. On Thursday, LA County recorded 1,537 new cases, the largest daily load since early March. Yikes. Nearly 400 people were hospitalized with COVID in LA as of Wednesday, up 275 from the week before, and 9 new COVID deaths were reported on the same day. Yikes. This is an all-hands-on-deck moment, LA County's public health officer Dr. Muntu Davis said. The challenge now facing states with relatively low vaccination levels was illustrated by Louisiana, where CNN reported that only 36% of citizens are fully vaccinated and some hospitals are feeling the strain. The state is recording almost 2,000 new cases of a COVID a day, the highest level in 4 months. About 60% of Louisiana's new cases are accounted for by the Delta variant. So that Delta is putting in work. So rest assured that if you're not vaccinated, you're going to catch that shit. Don't know how else to tell you. But that's all the news I got for today. I don't feel like gaming. Is going to be a short stream today. I apologize. It's been a very long week for me. I worked very hard and I'm very tired. And I just want to go to sleep. I'm not going to hold you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Next week, I swear I'll do the community King of the Hill and all that stuff. I got to chill out for the night. Maybe later on tonight, RNH hours. Once I've had a decent nap, I might hop back on at like 1 or something to do King of the Hill, play some Hunt or something. It really depends on how I feel, but I'm just going to end the stream for now. So thank you, everyone. Shout out to Teabag Fairfield. Shout out to Drew, my old homeboy from back in the day. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for supporting me. Shout out to Roxy the Riveter, another A1 Day 1. Shout out to Fade Runner as always. Yeah, I'm taking a break. I'm trying not to. That's the balance. Is like I feel like this shit is really important, just like with my job, but at the same time, I'm trying really hard not to burn myself out. So you missed your own shout out. That's crazy, Teabag Fairfield. That's crazy. But yeah, good night, y'all. Depending on how I feel tomorrow, I might stream tomorrow too. A homie of mine's got doing a birthday thing in DC, which is about like 45 minutes from where I live. So I might be going to do that and be out doing that tomorrow night. If I do stream, it'll be another one of those noonish, like midday streams, like I usually do when I stream on Saturdays. Who knows? I might even do a stream on Sunday. But at any rate, thanks for watching, you all. If I don't see you at all this weekend, I will see you, of course, on Monday. I actually don't know what the deal is with these Mortal Kombat 11 ESL tournaments anymore. Let me look up really quick and see. Oh, I guess there's no more tournaments. That's unfortunate. So Mondays, what should I guess I'm gonna go back to playing Soul Calibur 6. So I'll see you guys if I don't see you guys this weekend, we'll play some Soul Calibur 6 on Monday. I'll go back to being a Soul Calibur 6 player. But thanks, y'all. I'm tired. I gotta get out of here. I'll see you guys soon, hopefully. And